It's pretty cool to explore amazing fantasy or science fiction worlds in video games, right? Playing through games set on brand new worlds is always great to escape into, but honestly, nothing beats playing a game based on a place you know. There's just something really cool about playing through an area you recognize, especially if it's been changed a little bit to fit the new world of the game. Hey guys, ArcadeCloud here, and today we're counting down our list of the top 10 video game locations based on real life. If you're new to our channel, go ahead and subscribe and hit that bell. Give this video a thumbs up and share it with some friends. It's free. Number 10, Crysis 2, New York. Crysis 2 was a pretty big deal when it was released back in 2011. It was the second installment of the Crysis series and was the first game to use CryEngine 3 and be released on consoles. The game took place in 2033 in a completely destroyed version of New York City that has been evacuated due to an alien infestation. The city fell into ruin when the US military began engaging the alien invaders named the Ceph. The city had seen a lot of fighting. First of all, there was the initial war against the Ceph. When that didn't work, the military actually began to flood the city as a last-ditch attempt to destroy the Ceph. That didn't work either, but it did leave the lower half of the city incredibly damaged. The military in the game were even planning to launch a nuke at the city if everything failed, but luckily that was aborted at the last minute thanks to the events of the game. It's pretty crazy to see New York so destroyed, especially when New York is considered to be one of the toughest and hardest cities in America. Walking through the streets of a New York that has been ravaged by the military and an alien threat is pretty surreal. Number 9, Stalker in Chernobyl. April 26th of 1986 is a date seared in the memories of everyone who lives in and around the Ukraine. A massive meltdown in the nuclear power station Chernobyl led to the nearby area being saturated by radiation and to the government shutting the area off from the local civilians. It is in this area that Stalker is set. In the game you wander the area around Chernobyl, an area known as the Zone in the game. But this exclusion zone is not like the one we know in the real world. In Stalker, a second explosion occurred, and somehow that really messed up the area around the power plant, creating strange murderous spatial anomalies and radioactive storms that look really pretty apparently. Well, pretty for giant radioactive storms over the corpse of an abandoned nuclear power plant anyway. Number 8, Infamous Second Son, set in Seattle. In Infamous Second Son, you take the role of Delson Rowe as he battles the Department of Unified Protection across the fictional Seattle. The game takes place 7 years after the first Infamous game, in which most of the superpowered conduits were killed by Cole McGrath. In this game, the DUP are attempting to capture the world's remaining superpowered people, calling them all bioterrorists. When crafting their fictional Seattle, the hometown of the studio who made the game, they wanted to do it justice. The end result is a beautiful recreation that any resident of the city would be proud of, me included. From the crocodile to the Sonic Boom record shop to the huge Space Needle, the city is recreated almost perfectly with a few creative twists added in for good measure. The dev team even added in smaller, more unique aspects of the city like Lincoln's tow truck, which is a tow truck that literally looks like a foot, and the elephant car wash. It's not often that you see so much effort and attention to detail for a location in a video game, but Second Son pulled it off with ease. Number 7, Tomb Raider 3, set in London. While everyone might be getting excited over the new Tomb Raider games and the new movie, it's important to remember that the original Tomb Raider series was pretty awesome too. The game took place in a lot of different locations, but the one we'll be focusing on is the old city of London. While in London, Lara Croft is searching for the Eye of Isis, which was in possession of an evil woman called Sophia Lay. Over the course of the level, we learn that Sophia's cooperation had performed sick experiments on the people of London, all to try to achieve the goal of eternal youth. Considering the game was released back in 1998, the game has pretty good graphics for that era, and I'm sure that those who lived in the city of London were surprised to see their hometown rendered in such levels of detail, which would have been pretty rare at the time. Number 6, The Last of Us, set in Salt Lake City, Pittsburgh, Boston, and others. The Last of Us did something really interesting when it comes to the environments we play in. It took the normal everyday sights of Salt Lake City and transformed it from what we know into a decaying post-apocalyptic world overflowing with nature and, of course, fungus-infested zombies. For such an epic story, an epic setting is basically required, and The Last of Us gives its players all of that and more. While we start the game in a completely normal town, albeit with a few more explosions and a lot more running than you would expect from everyday life, what you're quickly confronted with is a world where humans just aren't able to take care of the massive cities that they've constructed. The cities covered in foliage and animals roam free. Despite how pretty everything looks, it's important to note that if humans did all die off, then the level of nature probably wouldn't get so high in reality as compared to the game. Salt Lake City is of course located in a desert, and even small laws need to be gardened incredibly carefully. The level of vegetation in the game just would never get that high without human help. Oh, and the real Salt Lake City doesn't have public highway tunnels either. Number 5, Sleeping Dogs, set in Hong Kong. In my opinion, Sleeping Dogs is a criminally underrated action-adventure game that you can play on both last-gen and current-gen consoles. It's set in modern-day Hong Kong and follows the undercover cop Wei Shen, who attempts to infiltrate the Sun On Yi triad. The game is open-world, and reviews have drawn a lot of similarities to the Grand Theft Auto series. The only difference is this game takes place in a completely different country. The development team behind the game did a huge amount of research into the city and eventually visited it themselves. In development diaries of the game, they talked about how they saw saw the massive skyscrapers right next to tiny little temples. They wanted to bring that complex, chaotic, layered city to the game and then designed all of the gameplay mechanics around it. In the game, the main character can parkour across 4 zones of the city. The area is split up into 4 distinct areas. North Point, which takes its inspiration from Mongkok and Kowloon Central, which is a high-end neighborhood filled with modern buildings and skyscrapers. Then there's Kennedy Town and the Aberdeen Port. While the game isn't modeled geographically after the real-world Hong Kong, it's clear to see that a lot of effort and time went into creating the feel of the chaotic city. Number 4. Watch Dogs, set in Chicago. Watch Dogs is another game that people like to compare to Grand Theft Auto, but the game takes place in the windy city of Chicago. The world of Watch Dogs is admittedly smaller than the real-world city of Chicago, and the developers were forced to cherry-pick some of the most obvious and recognizable landmarks. While you'll be able to recognize the iconic Chicago skyline, there's a few notable omissions from the game version. In the real world, Chicago is a massive 600 kilometers large, and the Ubisoft staff knew that such a big city would be a challenge to fit into a game, let alone make it fun to play in. But that doesn't mean you won't recognize anything from the game in real life. If, after playing a whole lot of Watch Dogs, you end up going to Chicago, you'll probably end up feeling like you know exactly where you are. The game also has a city hotspots challenge where you go over 100 different locations from the real world that are in the game, and then it tells you a whole bunch of history and information. It's not a one-to-one replica, but it's a pretty impressive attempt. Number 3. Fallout 3, from Washington, D.C. Have you ever wanted to see what Washington, D.C. would look like after being hit by a nuclear bomb? Not in the real world, of course, that would be pretty horrific, but in a video game. Well, if you've ever wanted to see that particularly morbid wish come true, you'll be able to fulfill it in Fallout 3. It's equal parts eerie and cool to see recognizable landmarks like the White House absolutely decimated and reduced to piles of radioactive rubble. You can walk straight up to things such as the Lincoln Memorial and see it in a new light, completely destroyed. It's pretty spooky to walk through the charred streets of the city of American politics and see it reduced to such a state. It's pretty upsetting. With half of the iconic dome of the Capitol building missing, it's easy to imagine how much destruction a real-life nuclear war might do, which is quite impressive for a video game to manage. Number 2. The Yakuza series set in Tokyo. The Yakuza series has always been known for its high attention to detail, and to be honest, the game's depiction of the Kabukicho district in Tokyo is seriously impressive. Fair warning, I suck at pronouncing any of these words. The games are set in a fictionalized version of the district known as Kamurocho, and the game feels almost identical to reality. The small streets laden with signs and small shops look almost identical between the video game and real life. The city's been recreated in painstaking detail to the point that when you're playing the game, it starts to feel less like you're walking through a virtual world and more like you're walking through the real one instead. One seriously notable example is the Nakamichi Street, which closely resembles the real Kabuki Central Road. Both keep pretty much identical design elements, and the Toho building has been recreated as a Kamuro theater in Yakuza 6. Like I said, this game series is no stranger to the small details, and it must have taken forever to get everything looking right in this game. Number 1. GTA 5, set in Los Angeles. Grand Theft Auto 5 is one of the most popular games of this console generation, and considering it actually first released on the last generation of consoles, that's pretty impressive. Los Santos is a caricature of Los Angeles, but like all of the best caricatures, it shares some pretty obvious similarities with its inspiration. Rockstar put a lot of work into making a lot of the settings in the game match up perfectly with their real-life counterparts. Some of the most iconic recreations are the Big Creek Bridge, which in real life is the Bixby Bridge. There's also the Los Santos Observatory, which is the Griffith Observatory in real life. Then of course you have the most obvious Vinewood and Hollywood signs overlooking both Los Santos and Los Angeles in all of their glory. And there you have it, our list of the top 10 video game locations based off of real life. Do you agree? Did we miss something? Let us know in the comments down below, and don't forget to subscribe for more great videos from ArcadeCloud on Wednesdays, Saturdays, and Sundays. Take care and game on.